So, welcome
Yeah.
back to the Apostates. Everybody, thank you for waiting. All four of you, regular. Now, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's like 15, but like,
Yay!
thank you everybody for bearing with the not having a show forever. There's just been a constant string of stuff happening. And before we get to what the title of the episode says, if you can see, Grant, when this goes up, it'll be about Jordan Neely. Um, we need to talk about something that is a little less soul crushing because we are not going to start the episode with the worst thing in the universe.
No.
Actually, we technically are. We are going to start with the modern.
I don't know who you ask, really.
Yeah, I think if you're Kenyan or Indian, the royal families.
I mean, yeah.
I think we are starting with one of the worst things in the universe.
I mean, England entering her side chick era is not exactly something that is not exactly a celebratory moment. Even though it didn't as much enter as it clopped in like a drunken cow after a 2-week bender.
I think it's more of a can't quite put my finger on it. Can't quite put my finger on the claw.
You mean your hoof?
Yeah, I just don't. And I'm sorry if that seems petty. Who fucking deserves it more? I don't care.
I'm serious.
This is, how the saying goes. It should have been Lars. It should have been Camilla.
It really should have been. Honestly, I mean, I don't know how they got her through that coronation program. I don't know how many sugar cubes and carrots they gave her, but she went through it. She was a trooper, right down to the ill-fitting idiot hat.
Well, I have to say that the Royal Gumad looks absolutely lovely for what she is.
Yeah.
I am never calling her the queen. I'm not even ever calling Charles the King, frankly.
You mean Chuck Cubed? Chuck Cube, Charlie the Third, Charlie and the Horse.
Charlie Horse, God damn it.
Hey! But Charlie and the Horse, tampon, Camilla and her tampon. There's a lot of names out there, and they sound even better when you get when it's said with an Indian or Jamaican or Guyanese accent. Shout out to the Commonwealth as they start to pack their bags.
Oh yes, speaking of all the Commonwealths, gosh, the greatest thing I saw was Jamaica saying, "Yeah, I think we got a year or two left. That'll be it."
Yeah, their bags are being packed. Things are being discussed. Listen, they are looking at 2025 is the year they're looking to split. Honestly, do I see the Commonwealth turning into Britain handing out full independence days, full republic days like a delicatessen? A Manhattan delicatessen at rush hour? It's possible. Guyana's been making the noises for the longest time. Australia's also been making noises. Honestly, if I were a bet, the punters at William Hill probably have an order, and I think their order is probably going to be Jamaica, Guyana, Australia. I think
are probably going to wait until a bunch of stronger ones kind of go first, because I know, but like I know New Zealand and Canada New Zealand will probably go before Canada. Canada's probably going to be the last holdout.
Canada I think will hold out of politeness. Literally, that will be their last polite act. They will say, "Sorry, we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait this one out a little bit and see how things go." And then eventually the Jamaican and the Indian populations will literally look at whoever is prime minister and say,
does the ambassador from one country to another have to be a citizen of the first country, or can it be anybody?
I think they have to be a citizen of, they at least have to be a British citizen. So
right. I would think I would love it
mhm.
if the ambassador from any of the new republics would be Megan.
Oh, that would be hilarious. Wrong, and I would pay money to watch it because it would be it would be the hardest thing for, I think, Kate especially to watch, because the ambassador needs no crown. The ambassador, it shows up, does what needs to be done. It's a good chunk of it is ceremonial bullshit. But it's a negotiating position. Listen, that girl walked into the royal family, poor thing. She thought that because she sucked the right dick, okay, I did the hereditary shit, but I got a degree. I did my due diligence at the UN. I did this, I did that. She came in with her pens and pencils and organized color-coded folders and and ready to work. She came in with the 5 a.m. bullshit, and that's great. If you're an
She
ambassador.
Leslie Noped it. She Leslie Noped it.
Oh, girl, yeah, she did. She walked in thinking she could Leslie Nope her way into this family, and she found out no, and they're racist.
I mean, the racism is at their. I don't know what is older, racism or the monarchy, but I would figure it would have to be the monarchy because I feel like they had to have invented racism.
It's kind of, I think it's a tie. Because, I mean, when you look at it, all right, Oxford was founded in 10 something. Then you got the Battle of Hastings. I would say the racism probably came between Oxford and the Battle of Hastings.
Obviously, I'm being, whatchamacallit.
I'm being a wise ass.
That's the one. But
yeah.
Still, I mean, it's just you can't separate the racism from the monarchy.
You really can't. You can try, but you can't. In the Queen Consort's official coronation,
Royal Kumar,
the Kumara, in the Queen Kumara official portrait, there's 2 Blackmore. And we all already went through the drama of the Blackmore brooch. They just said, oh, we're just going to double down. It's almost like bitch said, yeah, I'm the one who asked about Archie's skin tone. What of it, bitch?
Do people really think, people defending it or thinking, going on against Meghan, thinking she made this shit up? Do you really think the family, the guy who said to the Aboriginal people, do you still throw spears? Do they think he really didn't worry about what color his fucking great-grandchild would be? Really?
Oh, they worried. And then it turned out Harry's genes fought that woman's DNA to a retreat, to the point where I'm like, bitch, were you even in the room? I love you, honey, but were you in the room? Or is this your father's genes fighting his to a retreat?
Now, I remember the days where you and I discussed whether Tom Cruise was really the father of that kid. And we were like, nah, that's Chris Klein's baby.
I still believe that's Chris Klein's baby.
Yeah. So there's a certain...
I still believe that's Chris Klein's baby.
Oh my goodness. I hate the royal family so way too much for someone who has never lived under the royal family. The concept of a monarchy is so foreign to me, and it could be why I'm yet another of the many reasons why I'm no longer a Republican, because they love the monarchy now.
They love the monarchy because the monarchy came out of the closet with its racism. They were ambivalent toward the monarchy beforehand. They like the monarchy in the way that one likes, rain at night. It's there at a time where you're not outside and it won't affect you. But now you had this person. Now a woman comes in. She's American, so now she officially becomes kind of your problem, and she's part black. So now she really becomes your problem, and then she's an actress, and it's a whole thing. And it's not that she's right, and it's not that she's she just happens to be black. She grew up with her mom. She grew up with the black parent, which, let's be honest, is a little bit out of the norm for a lot of biracial celebrities. They did.
I mean, a lot of really horrible people made very much about how Barack Obama grew up with his, white parents, white grandparents, and made it into a litmus test about his blackness. And so the fact that Meghan grew up with her black parent is kind of one of those things that I'm sure rankles even more for the royal family. I feel like it's just one of those things that it's a detail they wouldn't even care about if she grew up with the white parent. But because it's even there, it's just one more thing that to them feels like a twist of the knife. Like, oh my dear, my horrible racist bones, yet another knife.
And it's not, and I mean, and she's a dreadlock wearing, yoga doing, kind of granola-y black woman with the nose piercing.
Prince Philip, God, no wonder he looked like that.
Yeah, man looked like he was pre-embalmed at the wedding, and I'm like, he is still confused as to how Doria even walked through that door.
There's a
Doria Ragland walked through that door, and it confused people.
There's a comedian, Louis Spears. He had a bit about that picture of Prince Philip coming out of the hospital. He said that's him leaving. That's the worst the member of a royal family has ever looked after a car ride.
Oh! If I had a wig, it would have been I would have been scalped, bald, scalperus wiggerata. All right, yeah, no, scalped.
We needed that.
Yeah, no, we needed that. We needed that kind of lightness, babbling about rich people who tangentially affect some of us, but not all of us.
So let's talk about the murder of Jordan Neely. And I think the first thing, it's hard to know where to begin, but I'll just say there's even the New York Post's initial coverage, which was very congratulatory. I'm not even going to say the goddamn person's name to the guy who choked him to death. It was basically like, thank God this man was there to strangle that man to death.
To save a subway car full of civilians from an unhinged.
Every account in that article, and every subsequent one, but especially in that first New York Post article, couldn't even give the actual justification that force was even necessary. Let's say you take that the term, what is it? It's steel manning. Let's say you build up the argument and say that there was somebody who was a threat. The threat only needs to be neutralized, not murdered.
Because people told him he's out. You can let go now. Honestly,
and he was outnumbered.
And honestly, I feel like that man decided that he could get away with killing. He decided, oh, hey, I've already got this man down. Fuck it, killing him. Don't care. And if it had been a dog he'd done that to, I am 99% certain he would have been arrested. He would have been taken to the nearest police station, if not the Tombs, if not the worst possible place. He would have been called a puppy killer. The New York Post would have called that man a puppy killer.
And it's the same sequence of events with Ahmaud Arbery, where this man, Jordan Neely, was lynched, and the police did absolutely nothing about it. Didn't arrest, didn't do anything. And then it took public pressure and the fact that he did not threaten anybody, and all he did was yell and throw his jacket or sweater down
onto the
That's
ground. And
all
he
did.
complained about anybody in New York who is either underemployed, unemployed, homeless, hungry, or otherwise stressed would complain about. He complained that he was tired. He complained he was hungry. He didn't care about going to jail. And he complained he was thirsty. Bitch, that's me. Bitch, that's me.
And people have used the fact that he said, I don't care about going to jail, as if that is some sort of threat. But again, every witness there said he was no threat. The motherfucker came up behind him, snuck up on him.
That's the part that gets me.
He was not even accosting his murderer. He was not even facing him, nor was he.
That's the part that kind of gets me. The fact that this was literally a kind of just a raiding. Like he thought, he basically took the initiative to kill this man, not restrain him, not hold him down till the cops got there. He took it on himself to kill this man. And I really don't. And yes, was this man arrested multiple times? Yes. When you consider that New York City basically criminalizes homelessness, if you are houseless in New York City, it is inevitable that you will get arrested multiple times. If you are houseless and go through and you are bipolar, it is inevitable that you will get arrested multiple times. If you are Black, male, and you are houseless in New York City and you have mental health crises, yes, you gonna get arrested a lot. And you jump the turnstile, but that doesn't merit him being strangled to fucking death.
And the big
I really need for the armed forces in this country to start really taking the mental health of the people exiting seriously. When people ETS, you need to find out what the fuck is in their heads. Because I'm sorry. Am I blaming the Corps for this? Not entirely, but I do believe honestly that there is a problem in our military. I do believe there's a problem in our military, and it's only going to get worse with the amount of the fact that we knew all the way back from the Bush administration that we had a viper's nest of white nationalists. We've had a viper's nest of general people who are mentally unstable, but because they're white, male, and can shoot straight, no one's doing what needs to be done.
I'm blaming the military, not for this specifically, but as you said, for the lack of mental health. We can go into a whole thing about the VA and funding, but specifically about the lack of mental health, because if you take people aside from the ones who are white supremacists and sign up for this shit because they want to be in the military, they want to be in law enforcement, they want to be in federal law enforcement.
They want to be the ghost skin. They've got ghost. In other words, taking the ghost skins out.
Yeah, forgetting about those people, your average person who joined the military for whatever reason that is a good reason for them, whether it's because they want to serve something bigger than themselves, the military turns them all into hammers, and they do not deprogram them, because it is conditioning. It is like having them join a cult. And I am not saying the military is a cult. I'm saying, psychologically speaking, they train you to
for some people, it becomes a cult. And for some people,
program you.
Yeah, and for some people, they're so used to finally I get to be the strong person in the argument that they don't know how to act when someone weaker than them momentarily has a flash of anger.
I am someone who is trained to use force, ergo I will use force because this appears to be a situation where force is needed. They did the
And
mental calculus to say force is needed in this situation because they, for whatever reason they found, they decided deadly force is needed in this situation, and boom, they've got the say.
yeah,
And everyone is saying, well, thank God this Marine was there. Fuck, man. I would be really glad if there were no Marines there.
I'm going to be honest, as someone who dated and nearly married one, that person, even I'm 99% convinced that I think my ex would have done the same goddamn thing. I'm 99% convinced of this. Man would have never laid a hand on me in anger, but would he have killed somebody? Oh, yeah.
We get
Why
so
lie?
accustomed to this culture of violence as a
The point.
solution, violence as an end, violence as a solution to so many problems for which violence does not need to be or shouldn't be the solution. Because we've built up a culture of the strong man, the hero, the good guy, the one who will be the sentinel and protector. And people love that story.
They really do.
And even if you took, I'll put it this way. I think if this had been a white man, I don't think he would have been choked to death. But even if you
no,
took,
I know if Jordan Neely had been a white dude playing, pretending to be Jim Morrison from The Doors in the streets of New York,
people would
or
do what they
Tom,
always do and said, just ignore him, move to a different car.
exactly, they would not have noticed it.
But
They would not have noticed it.
Even if this had happened, and the situation were the same, but for the race, it still is emblematic.
That young man would be out on bail if he were out.
People love, even outside the obvious race issue, because he's dead because he's a black man having a mental health crisis. It wouldn't have happened if he was a white man. But this culture still loves the idea of the sentinel, the hero, the man who will stand and fight and will solve the problems. The A-team. They love fucking Jack Reacher. They love the person who can.
They love Jack Ryan. All I know is that I don't know if you've seen this. Have you seen the video that the FBI released of the run, hide, fight bullshit of the bunch of people at the bar? The video. Shit. Yeah, and at least 3 or 4 people posted and said, we wouldn't have had to do all that. I would have had my gun. I'm like, you are not Jack Ryan. This is not a Tom Clancy novel. Stop it. Because all you're going to do is have more people end up dead. Or you're going to freeze, piss your pants, and nothing is going to happen. It's one of the two.
You can only be the good guy with the gun if you were a white guy, too. We all remember the black guy, good guy with the gun, who was shot by cops when they arrived on the scene at some mall. Oh, God, I can't even remember all of the goddamn mass shootings.
You can't. Yeah, I think this was one in Denver. I want to say it was one in Denver before the supermarket one. There before Q and before the supermarket one, but after Columbine. That does not narrow it down
further since we had an episode last. It's hard because
I think about 8 to 10.
We've already discussed mass shootings on several different episodes.
Yeah, I would say that we've had about, since the last time, I would say about 8 to 10, maybe 20.
And to tie it into Jordan Neely as well, the Black Lives Matter protester who had a gun and did not in any way threaten the man who murdered him, the man who was convicted for murdering him, Abbott was telling his pardon board, please put him up for pardon so I can pardon him. Violence is necessary to control.
And it's the idea that right now, I just want to know, Red, at your office building, have they changed the security? Have they, within the last 16 to 18 months, have they changed, updated, or toughened the security procedures in your building at your job?
Oh, we already have tough security.
Okay, because they just did it at mine. They just did it at mine because there was a shooting at a Walmart. About 5 to 10 miles from the job site. And I'm like, and that place was one of my Walmarts.
I'm going to be honest. Every firm I've worked at, every single one had key cards, so it's just one of those things where I have always felt safe where I work. And that is a luxury of a lot of things. But you don't sort of get that safety and luxury if you're in a movie theater, if you're in a bar, if you're in a subway car, if you're at, what was the name of the store? This last one, Allen's.
It was Allen Premier Outlets. There's a bunch of Premier Outlets. There's one like on the road to Key West that I used to love going to. There's one in Central Florida that's pretty well known. There's one in St. Augustine. The premium outlets are usually you can get really nice mid to high end fashion for a reasonable price. $500 you can go nuts.
I will tell you about one time I didn't feel safe at work, and this led to me quitting. This was a long time ago. Still worked retail because so it's been like, God, it happened like 7 years ago now. And I was the only staff member there after 7 o'clock. So from 7 to 9, I closed by myself.
I have a feeling most places do not do that anymore.
Yeah. Nah, I'm sure this place still does.
God.
I was always handling at least several $1,000s at the time. And, the only other store that was ever open near me was like 2 stores down, was like a Bally's or some gym. But other than that, it was just me and the Bally's. Everything else was closed down by that point. I didn't really think anything of it because, just very naive. I've always worked retail. I never felt unsafe. There was a weird guy who came in one day. Now, this was the middle of the day. Fine. But he came in. He was just kind of weird, but I've worked retail. I'm used to weird. Until about an hour later, a cop walks in and hands me a piece of paper and asks if I have seen the man on this piece of paper. You bet your ass I did. That was the man who was in being weird a little bit ago. He wanted to know if he could return something. I returned it for him, and he left. And I asked him, is everything okay? Am I safe? And the cop only said, if he comes back, just call 911, and left. So I asked my employer, I feel pretty unsafe. Can you just start having me be with another person from 7 to 9? It's 2 extra payroll hours. No. So I just, like, the flat no that I received, because I had to go through a middleman. I had to ask my manager, and my manager had to ask the boss. It's not my manager's fault. My manager, went and asked, was on my, whether, my manager was on my side on this one.
Yeah, of course.
My manager cared about my safety, regardless of whether they knew it was feasible or what the outcome was going to be. My manager at least asked, their boss. So I was really happy with that. But their boss just came, no, we're not putting a second person in. So my response to that was basically, what do you want me to do? Just bring my gun to work every day? And so my manager asked, do you really want me to say that? Like, actually, yeah. And so my manager brought that up to their boss, and the boss's response, the owner of the company, said, should Ren just bring their gun, to work? Their little response was nonverbal.
I guess.
Because they don't want the liability of saying yes, but they also don't want to say no. So
Wow.
I feel absolutely there's someone casing the place. I'm alone. The cops say call 911 if you see this guy again. So for 3 days, I bring my gun with me to work until I have a breakdown about basically carrying my gun with the idea that I might have to fucking use it. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I like everybody who let's put it like this. My rule is this. If you are too goddamn enthusiastic about carrying a weapon because you might have to use it, I don't want to fuck with you. There's something wrong with you. You are a little too happy to have that gun on you, sir. Are you wanting to use it?
That gun is and has always been for personal protection in case I ever needed it, not so I could put myself in the position to use it. And we as a culture really stand people who take their gun with them everywhere. So oh man, when trouble comes, I'm going to be ready.
No, you're not. Meanwhile, my practical ass out here is like, you're not going to be ready because danger is weird and danger will show up when she is good and motherfucking ready without your say so.
I will tell you what, it wasn't actually, the gun was the reason, but it wasn't the last straw. The last straw was on I was there like on the third day. I brought my gun in, put it underneath the counter and everything like that. And it was just a situation where the air conditioning stopped working that day, and they just kept like going off on whose responsibility it was to fix it. Was it their responsibility? Was it the shopping center's responsibility? I don't know. I just was like, not like, oh God, you're already telling me you're going to put me in here alone by myself at night, and the air conditioner doesn't work too, and you don't want to fix it. I've had enough. And I just was like, nope, I'm done. I'm out. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Like, we're at the place I worked at a mall that already was known for one famous shootout back in the 80s during the age of the cocaine cowboys. I worked there, but it was like all the way in like 2007, 2008. And I remember one morning I'm getting ready to open the store and this and that, and then I hear some very distinctive pops. We hid in this bathroom-sized stockroom and behind the counter for nearly 35 minutes. Now, I worked in a chocolate shop and we were getting ready to dip chocolate. We had to throw out the chocolate because that shit burned. We weren't going to get up to check. The fuck we look like? They got mad at us for not checking. And I'm like,
God, if there were a shootout in an Amazon factory, they'd get pissed if you were on the other side of the factory and decided to duck and cover instead of keep working.
I heard one girl say to the manager, did you want to just deal with the $40 of the lost dipping chocolate, or were you more interested in paying for our funerals? They let it go, obviously. But it was just that moment of, y'all are mad about some chocolate.
I think, it really underscores part of the desensitization we have towards violence in general. Yeah. Move along, do whatever. I tell you what, there was a statistic that came out that said 1 in 6 people have directly witnessed or been impacted by gun violence. You and I are both people, and I'm not saying the story about me having to carry the gun to work. I'm talking about I witnessed a guy fucking shoot himself in the head in Valley Forge when I was 16 years old. So it's you can't throw a stone without finding someone who has witnessed gun violence in this country.
And it's coming to a head. It's going to get ugly. People right now. Currently I live in the free state of Florida, aka Hell World. There's
You live near somewhere near Juan Carlos Falwell's brothel or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, I live somewhere in yelling distance of that place. I live near a neighborhood that I visit relatively regularly, and eventually I know that there could come a day where it could happen. And I've always said this: the day that happens, live, die, don't matter. I need y'all to take my autopsy photos and mail them. Mail them shits or hand them directly to Ron DeSantis and ask how much is this worth to the NRA?
He'd probably cream his pants.
Yeah, I'm black. I'm black. I'm queer. I'm fat. He's going to be happy that one less undesirable is walking unimpeded.
Fashy's gonna fash.
Fashy's gonna fash indeed. So it's the kind of idea that you can't, that the more people talk about, oh, this is actually freedom. No, it's the more that people are bound to other people's violence. Meaning, I am one pissed off white boys, and let's be honest, that's a demographic that strongly does this. I'm one pissed off white presenting boy. Now I'm going to correct that to white presenting kids. All it takes is for one person to be mad that that the girl that they don't have the balls to say that they have a crush on, but everyone probably knows it and he's being creepy about it. All it takes is for him to find out she's been giving him head behind the bleachers, and the next thing you know, I gotta suffer for it.
We all have to do the mental calculus when we leave the house.
Yeah.
That says, like, I don't know, will this target end up on the fucking news today? You know, it's just, it's stunning. And I'm sure there are people who think it's kind of like histrionics to say something like that.
No, it's not.
Okay. But also, like, that's the people who are excusing this all the time.
Of course.
It's the people that we're overreacting are the people who don't react.
It's the timber chats who say, oh, what can you do about it? Nothing. Well, what if it was your child? Well, I send my child to homeschool.
I love that season of South Park that opened every single scene that took place at the elementary school with gunshots and kids screaming and everyone just going about their day nonchalantly. Yeah. I mean, that's what a dystopia is. And that's what we're living in. The fact that there are people who have survived one mass shooting and then been involved in another.
Like, there are people who were at the mass shooting at Michigan State. Was it Michigan State?
I don't remember.
Exactly. Who went to high school at Oxford. There were people who lived through Columbine who are picking up their kids. There are people who might have blown somebody who went to Columbine who were at Club Q. It's becoming a 6 degree. People are becoming part of a 6 degrees of separation that no one asked to play. No one in America asked to play this ugly little 6 degrees of separation game, but guess what? You're going to be at a cocktail party one day, and a news about a shooting is going to come on the news, and they're going to be like, oh, I went to school there, or oh, I had my first date with my wife there.
And this is the point. This is what is wanted. This is what is desired. There is a connection between Jordan Neely being strangled to death and mass shootings. And the point is, we ignore the mass shootings that are taken on and, performed by these people who have more often than not histories of violence, and then their access to guns allows them to
history of domestic. Yeah, violence. A lot of these have history of domestic violence.
And then there is empowering people like Greg Abbott saying, I want to pardon that man who murdered the protester, or like the man who murdered Jordan Neely, or like the men who murdered Ahmaud Arbery. Violence as an enforcement mechanism, and then violence being enabled through inaction. These are all parts of
or
Andrew system.
Or Andrew Lester shooting Ralph Yarl. Or the dude in Louisiana who shot a 14-year-old girl for playing hide and seek near his property. Oh, that's a new one.
God damn it. That's the, you know.
I need us to take boomer white men off the streets till we figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Because some of y'all pawpaws are unhinged. He's been sitting in the easy chair. He's been sitting in the easy chair watching fucking Newsmax, OAN, and Fox News. Maybe not Fox News because they've gone soft.
Yeah.
In other words, he's been sitting there watching and the phone you gave him, he just has it stuck on Breitbart or Breitbart or a Daily Wire or a Daily Caller. And all he's getting is a bunch of, white nationalist power hour to the brain. Of course he's going to shoot. Of course he's going to shoot the nice black girl who just came to sell fucking Girl Scout cookies or just knocked on the door because she was fucking lost. What I need, because Lord knows, as Black people, we've tried our best we've had so many fucking programs and church events and cookouts and stop the violence and stop the violence events. I mean, we've tried. I really have never seen white people look at each other and go, maybe we need to stop the violence. The Kentucky Derby was last week. And inevitably there was a fight. No one want to talk about the fact that every fucking year, some jerk ass in a salmon shirt fights another motherfucker in chinos, and some bitch in an ornate church mother hat tries to separate them every year. And then you give us the skewed statistics that come from over policing and count arrests but not convictions.
Oh yeah, and don't forget Elon Musk posted his little tweet, just like Donald Trump did before him, of black on black crime. As if it even needs to be said. I mean, okay, it's pretty comparable to white on white crime because crime pretty much just tends to happen amongst communities. And
like Jerry Springer just died. We're gonna forget the wonderful examples of white family structures that we watched on that shit.
Man, yeah, but as we all know from Tucker, ganging up on people is not how white people fight.
Tucker's a damn lie.
I mean, if you forget the fact that the term
that is literally how white nationalists fight. I have never seen any of these motherfuckers fight one-on-one. They either fight in groups, or they are not afraid to fight a black woman because they know that we will either get punch crazy and not hurt them the way we should, or they'll fight somebody old. They will not, or intoxicated or in a mental health crisis.
Well,
they're not going to, actually fight one-on-one, peer for peer.
Famously, Emmett Till was killed in a one-on-one boxing match.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that 14-year-old boy was totally killed by those one-on-one instead of by those five grown-ass men.
Speaking of people who are in hell, fucking what's her face? I don't know, Carolyn something or other. I don't care. She's dead. God bless it. There are only a few people
whose deaths I celebrated
on this show. She's one of them. Henry Kissinger. We're going to do an entire episode.
We are going to remind people how horrible Henry Kissinger is. All I know is that I get, congratulations. But on one hand, one of my friends, she had been, one of my best friend She'd been through a sexual assault. One of the people who sexually assaulted her is dead. But I know that for some people, that is a rough thing to go through. So my drink is going to be contemplative. Because violence hurts people in different ways. And speaking as a Black person, intra-community violence hurts people in different ways. I mean, we're just coming off the fact that Megan Thee Stallion's shooter, Tory Lanez, he is not getting a new trial. And as he was being led out of the courtroom, he yelled at the judge. He said to the judge, who was Black, I could be your son. I could be your brother. I could be, and I wanted to be like, Megan could have been his niece. Megan could have been his daughter. What?
The Megan Thee Stallion trial and basically the online comments, and before anyone says online comments are not real life, they're made by real people. Don't even start it. The online comments put the Megan Thee Stallion trial shows me more than any, a simple white person from Whiteville, in the state of whiteness, that the universe hates Black women. Like, it is like all over the internet. Everyone found some excuse to make it somehow her fault. Yeah. That she was fucking shot
in her foot.
Who admitted to shooting her.
Yeah. And they made songs about her being a liar. They constantly talked about her being a liar. Megan nearly broke down in the middle of her Saturday Night Live performance.
She has a really a song I really love called "Crying in the Car" or "Crying in My Car." And it's an absolutely beautiful song, and I don't know enough of her output, but I know that song's fucking beautiful, and she's fucking beautiful. As you can't find someone who is more into advocacy, not even just for herself, but for education, for you take someone who on paper
should never have.
Yeah, it is admirable in every way a person can be. Some people don't like the fact that she taught, I'm not even going to do the whole Ben Shapiro, WAP, wet ass, and
wet ass P word. And I'm like,
exactly, wet ass P word.
And then we learned that
sort of your hero, Ted Nugent, has a fucking song called Wang
Dang Sweet Poop Tang.
You motherfucker. And the same year that they came out with WAP was the year that Guns N' Roses came out with a new song that said, and I apologize for saying this out loud, but one of the lyrics was "Pussy full of maggots." Actual lyric from that song by Guns N' Roses, one of the biggest bands of all time, came out the same time as WP. Not a word from anybody.
I'm just saying, outside of Dragula, outside of a Boulay Brothers production, why would there be a pussy full of maggots? That is literally the Boulay Brothers are literally the only people I would trust with anything with a pussy full of maggots.
I don't even have a problem with that word, but that word in combination with the others.
Yeah, bitch, what is wrong with you?
These people go after Megan Thee Stallion for things that so many other people and people they love have said way worse. Megan Thee Stallion, of all people, is one of those. If she can't even get any sympathy after someone who has done a great deal of advocacy and a great deal of goodwill gets shot by another guy who admits to doing it, and people are like, she's a liar or she deserved it. The violence is the fucking point. I just keep coming back to it.
And it's the idea that she had a hard time about going to the police because she did not want to fuck over a Black man.
She knew it would happen.
And it's it's kind of the emotional abuse. It's the emotional abuse that they put. It's the emotional abuse that kind of hurts too.
I know I don't have a frame of reference to the feeling, to the internal feeling of what it's like. But just from the standpoint of a fucking observer, it's like it's impossible not to see that the violent. I'm even using a violent metaphor for it, but violence itself is used as a weapon. The threat of violence is a form of social coercion.
Yeah,
For everybody. That's why they encourage people to commit violence for the sake of law and order, to do vigilantism against the right out groups, but also allow the violence to constantly happen when it occurs in. Can you even call it random anymore? I mean, it is random, but it just happens so damn much. It's basically like a heartbeat.
It's the drone in the background of Eraserhead. If you watch Eraserhead, you know that there's this annoying.
This is a conversation for another day, but I really hate David Lynch.
I'm sorry. I am ambivalent toward David Lynch, gladly. I don't care. But there is a drone in the background of Eraserhead, and it gets in your head and it stays there. It took me like 2 days after watching it the first time to get it out. That's what the violence is. For me, it's a drone in the back of my head, constantly going off. It's a droning sound. You tweet through it, so to speak.
And nothing ever occurs. Nothing changes. It's that point. It's that sketch, that famous sketch from years ago on Saturday Night Live where Kenan Thompson repeatedly says, when they keep going back in time, ain't nothing going to happen. The one where A.D. Bryant breaks and just laughs. Like that. Because nothing is going to happen. They had that guy whose district the Texas shooting happened in.
Yeah, and he talked about
criticism towards people who are saying that prayers aren't enough. Basically, responding that people aren't praying enough. Like that one of the last big meetings that occurred was at a Christian school. I guess the kids didn't fucking pray hard enough, and
all I know is that to me it feels like there's a reason that the Bible says faith without works is dead. You've got all these thoughts and prayers, but no works. No effort to actually quell the violence, which tells me you either want the violence because there's something you can use with it, or you're just partially indulging in mocking God by making an idol of the gun. This is the new Molech, guys. It's the new Molech. People are literally throwing their children at the altar of the gun. There's really no other nice way to put it. They are throwing. If a bunch of mostly white kindergartners in New England didn't move people, if it didn't move the needle, bitch, that shit ain't never gonna get moved. No. I'm sorry. Sandy Hook answered the question. What are Americans willing to do? God fucking damn nothing. They are not going to do a goddamn thing. They shoot a bunch of drag queens. Who cares? They were drag queens. They shoot a bunch of high schoolers. Who cares? They were high schoolers.
That kind of ties it in to the idea that, like, the safety of children is absolutely always, and I talked about this. I did
safety of children is a political tactic. It is not an actual stance. It is merely a tactic. It is merely a shiny object thrown at the weak-minded and prejudiced in order to get them to vote and act a certain way.
There was a child in a recent mass shooting. It might have even been this one. I don't know. I can't keep track of them. Who lost both their parents in a mass shooting.
That was Alan. She lost both
parents.
Yes, that child is now an orphan.
But no worries, because we can ship that child to Arkansas or Iowa and put them to
And
work
them to
in a
work.
mine.
I mean, or even Florida.
Yeah.
We have slaughterhouses. Give him DeSantis time, he'll do it.
We must protect them
From who?
literacy being promoted by basically PG rated drag queens, and that's all Drag Queen Story Hour is. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. They find one video in the last like 10 years of a drag queen twerking. Okay, yeah, that's one fucking video. Of
All I know is that all I know is this. There are accounts on Twitter that their job, they've taken it on themselves to find pastors, youth leaders, cops, Christian school teachers that have assaulted or been improper with children and young teenagers. Those accounts, they never run out of new material. They popping up with at least 2 to 4 stories a week, if not every day.
They also never get any traction with the Q people who ostensibly care about kids.
Yeah, I've lost count of how many times I've said,
nobody cares about kids. Anybody who actually says they care about kids doesn't fucking care about kids. Ultimately, you know what? With all the children killed in mass,
we have not burned down the local archdiocese office. We don't care about children. Let's put it like this: if clowns were assaulting children as much as the clergy was, we would ban the circus. As much as I hate Dan Savage, that saying ain't nothing but the goddamn truth.
He does have like a stop clock, a couple of
that is one of his best stop clock moments that I really don't care about any others. That is the one that I will say, that is, if he was relying on me to save his life by giving them 5, he'd be dead. If they were relying on me to save his life by giving him 1, that would be the one.
But they don't actually care about kids. They care about being able to continue to do a racism. That is their first and foremost. Usually, I mean, historically, gosh, I remember one of the reasons why private religious schools became such a big thing around.
I know why.
70s.
As someone who attended one.
Yeah. They really,
it was done to get around segregation. It really
and when
was.
they were forced basically to, Bob Jones had to be, dragged kicking and screaming into integration. But the schools that did integrate, they would only allow Black men who were in relationships because they were scared for the white women.
And they always
use the idea of children as this, oh my God, protect the children, as an excuse for every out-group prejudice they have, whether it's drag queens now, whether it's Black people before, whether it's gay teachers, whether it's anything. But the time they have to actually care about it, whether it's the Southern Baptists, whether it's the Catholics, whether it's a Republican Speaker of the House, or whether it's Jim fucking Jordan not opening his goddamn mouth and reporting what he saw, no one cares about kids. And to tie it back a little bit to what we talked about in the very beginning, emblematic of the fact that who had a better position at the coronation between Prince Harry and between Prince Andrew?
Prince Andrew managed to walk in, and he was, I believe, allowed to retain his uniform. He was given allowed to wear full coronation robes as respected to him as Duke of York. Harry had to walk in a beautiful Dior morning suit. He was not allowed to wear his uniform that he had earned as a member of the royal military. He was not allowed to do that. He had to sit behind his great aunt, whose fucking feather was in the way. and watch his brother nod off after knowing that he and his sister-in-law fought in the carriage all the way over.
You can rape a child, but you can't marry a black person. That's just a bridge too far.
And Meghan Markle's half black, which cracks me up even more.
I think that violence is the point. Acceptable targets.
Of course, and I'm 99% certain that and I'm 99% certain that, yeah, you're right. The universe does hate black women, and it does hate the people that love and care about them intimately. One of the first things that happened to Harry and Meghan when they left the royal family and first went to Canada was that their location was leaked against their will. And that was while Adam Waffen was threatening them. That was while various other hate groups were threatening them. That was while there were active threats against them. It's very, very hard for me to believe that the Crown at the very least, didn't fucking care about their lives, or were willing to throw them to the British media to distract them from what other was going on.
No one has ever leaked child rapist Prince Andrew's location. For as much as people say they want to take, their vengeance upon people who hurt children, and I, at a certain point, we're probably going in circles, and we're probably going to keep saying the same things over and over again. So
yeah, we are.
This has been a very difficult.
This was a rough one. This kicked up a lot of dust.
There's a universe out there where Jordan Neely lived in New York where Eric Adams hadn't cut millions upon millions from homeless services,
or Eric Adams didn't fucking become mayor.
When people say they like to use that idea, that Jordan Neely did all of this before. He even had a violent crime that he was accused of. First of all, accused. Second of all, the guy who murdered him had no fucking idea.
No fucking idea.
And we are comfortable in this world with vigilantism, and we celebrate it because violence is the point. Violence is how you keep the outgroups under control, whether it is the violence of vigilantism or doing absolutely nothing about the violence that is disproportionately perpetrated by people who are in the in-group.
As most people say, the main idea of conservatism is there are groups that the law binds but does not protect. There are groups that the law protects but does not bind. And conservatism's goal is to make sure that those groups stay in their respective places.
It's like that woman crying outside of January 6th when she was pepper sprayed. Why are they going after us? They're supposed to be going after BLM. That's really it in a nutshell.
And Black Lives Matter was not on the scene because in one of the few times that Twitter worked, everyone said, stay the fuck away from the Capitol. No one go to the Capitol tomorrow. We're staying home.
When we return next week, I hope, granted, the point of the show is to complain about the state of shit. I really would love to have an episode that's about a victory, but hopefully.
Listen, we can legally call Trump a sexually assaultive mean fuck who lies about the horrible things he does when women call him out on it. Legally, we can say Trump, that now.
The most recent rapist president that we know of. Joe Biden's got a little questionable kind of stuff, but it's kind of hard to say for sure. But Trump basically all but admitted it on tape and then doubled down during the deposition. So
doubled down, and there are multiple people out there, women and many of them said, "No, I'll testify that I'll testify that he assaulted me. I'll gladly do it. I do not."
Yeah, we know Trump is a racist. We know rapist. Well, I mean, same thing.
Yeah.
We know Trump is a racist. We know rapist. Jesus Christ. We know
Same,
Clinton.
same. Them
We know
shows.
Clinton is a rapist. Lyndon Johnson. I mean, if you got somebody who's just willing to whip his dick out in front of like his staffers, he's probably also a rapist. So I'm,
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I have a feeling that as smooth, I'm never going to be forgiven for this, but I have a feeling as smooth as JFK was,
look,
he might have.
Rich daddy's boy from
Harvard.
Yeah, from fucking New England. Look, the math.
The math is mathing. The math is mathing. I do not like this, but the math is mathing.
So.
And that goes for the Roosevelts too, both of them. Listen.
Yeah. By the way, there's a scale. There's a scale, speaking of the Roosevelts, of what level of cousin you're allowed to marry.
I think they broke that scale at least 3 times.
And so you have basically the royal family where Prince Philip and the Queen were like third cousins.
Third cousins.
Their common ancestor was married to her first cousin. So that's like, and then you have Rudy Giuliani, who is their second cousin. Then you have Roosevelt, who it's like, what were they, third or fourth cousins?
I think it was third. Third.
So all I will say is that physiologically speaking, it's impossible not to be with some degree as cousin. Usually it's around, like, within a culture that is generally stayed static, usually it's around 15th cousin. The furthest apart you can be is probably about 45th cousin.
Oh, I thought it was 33rd.
Maybe. I remember I've read around like 45 to 50, but all I'm saying is don't be like the royal family or any of these rich people from New England. Be someone who doesn't know which level of cousin you're married to.
Yeah, because I have a feeling. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are like probably 28th to 30th cousin.
That is like fantastic for royals.
God, yeah. Like I have a feeling it's like 30. I know it's over 10. So it could be anywhere from 10 to 30th, which even 10 alone is pretty fucking good.
Sorry, like, I had to find a way to end this show in about something that was at least amusing. So we're going to end the show now, but I'm getting some late breaking news. Like Henry Kissinger is still somehow fucking alive. He's almost 100. This is some bullshit.
God damn it. This is bullshit. All right. I don't
know how that man is